Hi guys, welcome to Twin Perspective. I'm Joe, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing episode 3 and 4 of Maniac, the limited series that's on Netflix, starring Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. Full spoilers on the entire series. I'll be recapping episodes 3 and 4, but I'm going to be providing my analysis, which is a reflection of having seen the whole series. So there may be a few spoilers here or there for the entire series, but I'm going to try to keep it to episode 3 and 4. But this is to break down how I feel about it. And I've seen the series a few times now, so that's what the point of these videos are. Let you guys know what I think about it. So episode 3 is called Having a Day. We start the episode with the odds. They are waking up from the initial trial in the drug trial. It's a pill A that they've all taken, and everyone's waking up. Well, we noticed that Owen was awake before anyone else, and he was pretending to sleep and waking up when everyone else was waking up. And then as they're leaving the room, Owen throws his pill off to the side. So Owen hasn't taken the A pill. Everyone's immediately interviewed by Dr. Morimoto, and they're asked a simple question: how do you feel? How do you feel after waking up from this experience? Owen gives a stale answer, something like, "I'm speechless," and then he reiterates again, "I'm speechless." And Annie says that she's exhausted and she's devastated. Now, that's how episode 2 ended. We got to see her A-pill experience. Okay, so everyone goes back to the common room, and I have to say this about Dr. Morimoto. I didn't mention this in the first episode. When we meet him and Dr. Fujita's in Morimoto's office, and she's sitting at his desk smoking a cigarette, and Morimoto is passed out at his desk. He's got this headset on, which is similar to what they sit in after they take a pill when they're being examined by the computer. And Dr. Fujita has to wake up Morimoto. That's when everyone first arrived. And after Fujita leaves the office, Dr. Morimoto puts away a straw in his drawer, and you see aluminum foil in there. So you're getting the opinion that he's smoking some kind of drug. I should have mentioned that when I was breaking down the first episode. I didn't, but I threw it in now because it's important for the next scene. So all the odds are at the common room, and 3 of them get called back to the office. Number 1, number 5, and number 9. That's Owen, Annie, and number 5 is this goofy guy who brought condoms in, which were immediately taken from him. So they're all sitting in front of the office. Number 5 goes in first. And as Owen and Annie are sitting there, Owen admits to Annie, he says, I didn't take the pill. I didn't take the pill because I thought you were going to activate me. He wanted to be ready in case his little handler / special agent activated him. So then Annie says, well, I have to admit something to you, Owen. I snuck into this trial, and when you approached me, it made me nervous, and so I just played along with you. I have no idea what you're talking about. And Owen says, you were talking about the patterns. You said the pattern was the pattern. I kept seeing your face everywhere in ads and billboards. And he says, well, I sold my face to a stock service 4 years ago. So that explains why he was seeing her face everywhere. And she says, and from what I can tell, there is no pattern to the universe. It's just chaos. And at that moment, number 5 comes out. He's done with his interview, and he tells Owen, number 1, you're up. So Owen goes into the office. Dr. Morimoto asks him again, I want you to explain to me what you saw when you took the pill. There's some irregularities that the computer picked up, and so I want to hear you describe the story. So Owen didn't take the pill. Owen asked, well, is this supposed to be the worst day of your life? And Dr. Morimoto says, it can be. Well, what did you experience? So Owen obviously is just trying to think of one of the bad days in his life, and he starts to explain it. And we actually see the events play out. Owen is at an engagement party for Jed, his brother, who has asked Adelaine to marry him. And they're at the family house having an engagement party. Jed approaches Owen, and Jed says, you know, the family says you're going to testify for me, and that's great, but I really wanted to talk to you one-on-one about it to make sure. You know, Jed tells Owen, you know, you're going to do the right thing, right? And Owen says, well, you know, all depends on what's real, if you did it or not. And Jed's like, no, I didn't do it. Of course I didn't do it, but that shouldn't matter anyway. Reality shouldn't matter in this situation because family is supposed to take care of family. So Jed tells Owen it would be like if somebody would send menacing letters to government officials or maybe even anthrax and then blamed it on you. You know, that wouldn't be right. Jed tells Owen you would be locked up in some loony bin and it wasn't even your fault and you didn't even do it. Now that wouldn't be fair. So now you understand what I'm going through. This girl's setting me up. I'm innocent. And I don't want to see any member of our family go down like that. So it was an obvious threat from Jed to Owen. And then Jed says, I love you. I got to go make this stupid speech now. And he walks off. He gets his dad to play Every Breath You Take by the Police. I mean, this is what Jed is singing to Adelaine. And Adelaine looks really put off. Like she doesn't want to be standing there next to him. She doesn't want to be standing there where the whole crowd's watching her. She's very uncomfortable. And he's singing this song that everybody knows is about a stalker. And a stalker singing to his victim is prey. So it made me think Adelaide doesn't want to be with him at all, and she's almost forced to. I'll be watching you. Jed just made the threat to his brother, so obviously she doesn't want to be with this guy. And then Owen decides to go upstairs away from the party. He climbs out of a window onto the roof, and he jumps off the building. Apparently Owen was going to try to kill himself. But he landed one floor down on the ceiling of the next room where everybody was at, a glass ceiling, and they all saw him laying there. He's got this look on his face like, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen. And everyone's freaking out, and his mom's screaming, Owen! So that was the story Owen told Dr. Morimoto. Dr. Morimoto said, you made up that story. Owen's like, no. He said, well, that's not what the computer read. The computer says you didn't even take the A pill. And he said, I did take it. He said, no, you're going to take another one. He took a pill out of his drawer. Told him to take it. Owen said, no. Take the pill. And Owen said, no. Owen's being really quiet, though. And then Dr. Morimoto starts yelling at him and yells at him even in Japanese. Boy, swallow! This is where the cowardice in Owen exhibits itself, because then Owen immediately takes the pill. And Owen's got the headset on, so he's connected to the computer. And the very next scene, we see Owen leaving the office. So Owen had his A-pill experience while he was in there, but we didn't get to see what Owen's A-pill experience is. He walks out of the office, and Annie was like, you were in there a long time. What happened? Owen said, you know, you're next. So Annie goes in. Dr. Morimoto says, you know, according to our computer, you've been abusing the A-pill, and you've done this for a long time. And he starts to describe how if you're addicted to something like the A-pill, it's a hard thing to get away from. You may want to move forward, suggesting that you may want to take pill B and pill C, but you're always going to go back to pill A. And apparently Morimoto, being a drug addict himself, knows something about coping mechanisms such as being addicted to drugs. And he's pretty much given her this fair warning that, once you're addicted, you're probably going to keep doing it. And Annie is like, well, why? Why do we keep going back? Why do we keep going backwards? And Dr. Morimoto starts to talk. He says, dead. He just falls dead. And Annie's like, Dr. Morimoto, are you okay? Is this part of the test? And then the office phone starts to ring, and she says, is that the test? You think I'm going to answer it? I'm not going to answer it. And then the phone stops ringing. She says, I'm just going to sit here. I can sit here forever. And she says, you really are dead. Oh, God. So she gets up, and she opens up the office door, and poor Owen, who just had his A-pill experience, is sitting out there devastated. And she says, Owen, come here. Owen comes in the office, closes the door. Owen sees the doctor laying there. And Annie immediately starts going through the filing cabinets. She's looking for drugs. And Owen said, did you kill him? And she said, no, I didn't kill him. He just fucking died. Then she gets the key to Dr. Morimoto's pants, and she opens up his cabinet, and that's where she sees the drugs that are there. And not only does he have a straw with a big ball of something that's mixed together, and she's all grossed out by it, but he also has a pill bottle full of A-pills, and she grabs it and she's holding it in her hand looking at it. This is why she went to the trial. Mission accomplished. You can take those pills right now, put them in your pocket, and go home. So, while Annie is going through all the cabinets and finally finding this bottle of pills, she asks Owen what happened when he was in there, and Owen said, he made me take the A-pill. And Annie said, well, what did you see? And then Owen tells us the story of what he saw. This is interesting by the director. Now, he chose to use a narrator like Owen, who we can't trust because he's schizophrenic and we're not sure what's real and what isn't. And then, for confirmation, he doesn't show us. So we have to take Owen's word for it. And, this might upset some people when they see that we don't get to see Owen's real situation. We actually got to live Owen's lie. But was very revealing about his character. But then he tells this story. I thought it was an interesting choice, and it works for me. Owen says that when he took the A-pill, he went back to a day when he was with a girl named Olivia. They were going to college together. He liked Olivia a lot, and Olivia had asked him to study with her. And since he'd been wanting to talk to her, he was like, all right. He was really excited. And on his way to the library to study with her, he saw Grimson for the first time. That's his imaginary Jed brother lookalike. So Grimson, upon his first entrance, tells Owen that Olivia can't be trusted. And then Owen gets it in his head that his parents have paid Olivia to be nice to him. That's the reason why she likes him, the reason why she's studying with him. And he eventually gets in his head, yeah, she's probably going to marry me and have kids, and she doesn't really love me. It's my parents' control over her, paying her to do this, the control that her family has on everything, apparently. So he has a moment where he begins to accuse Olivia. Owen's accusing Olivia of working for someone, getting paid, being a spy. He starts going through all of her stuff and everything else. They have a moment. He starts yelling and screaming, telling her awful things. And it ended up with him strapped to a gurney in a room by himself, crying for his mother. So this was the instance that happened 10 years ago, when he had a psychotic break and was put away in a mental health place. He believed spurned on by his imaginary brother Grimson that this Olivia didn't really like him. And every relationship that Owen tries to have after that, he reverts back to this situation where he had his blip, is what the doctors call it. And that no matter how much he likes a girl or how much they like him, he's going to ruin it because he's going to get fixated on something, and then he's going to be rude and yelling and screaming, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with him ever again. This was the real story of his A-pill experience. As he's telling this story, Annie's got that bottle of A-pills in her hand, and Owens keeps saying, none of this is real, is what he thought about the situation with Olivia. None of this is real. None of this is real. None of this is real. And she's looking at that A bottle, and she puts it back and closes the door, which is amazing. I love that you hear Owen's voice while she's staring at that pill bottle. None of this is real. So she puts the pill bottle back. She's made a decision right then and there. I'm going to take the B pill and the C pill and see if this damn shit works, because I'm tired of doing this. She looks at the files, and the doctor has already placed the file for number 1, number 5, and number 9 into the not accepted pile. So she takes both their files out and she removes the restriction from it, and then she puts it in the accepted pile. Then she tells Owen, we're going to go out there, we're going to act like everything's normal and nothing happened. And they leave the office and they go back in the commons room. Now they're sitting in the commons room. Annie finally tells Owen her A-pill experience, which was 5 years ago. Her and her sister were in a truck accident and her sister died. Annie says that the person that was driving the truck was on the road for 30 hours up on no-dos, and he had swerved into their lane. It was his fault. The guy's name was Greg F.U.N. Nasland. His middle name was Fun. Then they notice that the other doctors are going into Dr. Morimoto's office. And they hear one of the orderlies say, I thought he was asleep when I went in there. So they've discovered Dr. Morimoto's dead body. Dr. Fujita decides she's going to the 77th floor and she's going to talk to the main money source of this project, the main benefactor of all of this. All we know is that it's a guy standing there holding a television set, and the television set's all blurry, and you can hear a Japanese voice over it, and they're referring to the man as Yoda. So she's up there explaining what happened, and she knew that the doctor was smoking an AC mixture, a mixture of the A pill and the C pill, and that all of the precautions she had taken worked. They just need somebody else to come in and finish the project. They're in the middle of it. This trial run's going to be successful. It's going to make you billions of dollars, Yoda. We just got to go and get the other doctor who was responsible for the trial. The one that's not there right now. The one that we saw in the instruction video, played by Justin Theroux. His name is Dr. James Manilray. Yoda reluctantly agrees, and it's because he's putting profit over people, obviously. So Dr. Fujita goes to retrieve Dr. Manilray. She goes outside. She must have agoraphobia or something, because she never goes outside, apparently, to get in a car and to get all the way over there to go to his apartment was a feat for her. She's constantly wearing gloves. It's strange. But anyway, she gets to his apartment. Now, he's in his apartment, and he's doing a virtual reality thing where he's about to make love to this queen of Atlantis. She's like half octopus or something, and she's naked, and he's squeezing on her breasts in the virtual reality. And in reality, he's got his junk hooked up to a machine, and he's squeezing these gel bubbles or something. So Dr. Vegeta walks in there and gets his attention. He He takes his glasses off. He sees she's standing there, and he's more embarrassed about not having his wig on than screwing this thing. So he immediately puts his wig on because he's balding. It's the goofiest wig you ever saw. And she explains that Robert Morimoto is dead, and he needs to come and finish the trial, lead the rest of the trial. And he immediately accepts. He's shocked that Dr. Fujita's there to get him. You get the impression a little bit that they know each other on a personal level too. So she brings him back, and he gets his new security card, and then he asks Dr. Fujita if Gertie knows that Dr. Morimoto is dead. Gertie's the computer. Dr. Fujita says, I haven't had a chance to tell her yet. And then Dr. Manore says, well, I'll let her know. So Manore goes in there and he stands at the computer. He bows. And then he says, it's good to see you, Gertie. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm back, and I'm going to be taking charge of the program from here on out. And the computer talks, oh, hello, James. And then as he's leaving, he says, oh, by the way, Dr. Morimoto is dead. And the computer says, oh, thank you for telling me. So then Dr. Manore goes and introduces himself the next morning to the, oh, I got to tell you, after Manore says this to the computer, Dr. Fujita goes in there later on to the computer and says, I'm sorry about Robert dying. How do you feel? And the computer said, I feel I have all the feels. And then Dr. Fujita says, it's going to be a big day tomorrow. What do you think the subjects are going to see when they go under? And the computer says, I don't know. And the doctor says, well, you better get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. Okay, so Dr. Azumi Fujita and Dr. James Manore go to sleep. And then we see Gertie. And Gertie's the computer's like this clunky thing with a bunch of lights, 80s retro shit lights. And all the lights form this face of a woman with glasses. And she goes, and cries. And a teardrop of light comes down. And you follow the light, and it goes all the way till it's inside the computer. And you go inside the intricacies of the computer, and you see this liquid form and drop. Just one drop. And it solders two wires. And one wire's coming from a number 1, and one wire's coming from a number 9. So this is how 1 and 9 are going to be connected. Apparently. The computer cried. Which is really strange. And normally, when it's AI and they involve human emotions and stuff, I don't like stuff like that. Okay. I took this in stride because as goofy as some people might think that Tier is as goofy as Robin Williams' artificial intelligence movie was. What was it? Bicentennial Man, or yeah, the Spielberg artificial intelligence. All those movies are goofy to me. So I took the Tier in stride. I mean, we're going to go at an AI and let it cry. Why not? The next morning, that's when Dr. James Manore introduces himself to the subjects. And he gives a pretty good speech. I like it. It's very clunky, but he gets to the point. He says, I believe that people can be fixed. The mind can be fixed. And they are brave pioneers on a new frontier. The last frontier, conquering what he called Mindlantis. That's when you get the slow clap from everybody. So Manore is kind of weird. He's out there. But he introduces himself. He explained to everyone that Dr. Morimoto had a family emergency and was no longer going to be there for the project. And now the next stage of the trial begins. They're going to take pill B. The B pill for the odds begins. Everyone falls asleep. They're hooked to the computer. And we see one dream, and it has Owen and Annie in it. Owen is in a reclining rocking chair with a mullet, and he's wearing a worn Moon Oilers jersey, which has the number 1 on it, by the way. And Moon is prevalent in this show. And you hear a voice calling from the kitchen. You fell asleep in front of the TV, get up. He gets up and he walks in the kitchen and he says, how you doing? Is there coffee made this morning? She says, it's right there. And it's Annie. Except she's calling him Bruce. And he called her Linda. And he pours coffee and she's asking him if this dirty ass pot, they should keep it or throw it away. And she says, yeah, we're going to keep it. Of course we're going to keep it. And Owen drinks his coffee. I'm sorry, Bruce drinks his coffee, and that's how and he's smiling, and that's how the episode ends. So apparently, the B pill has begun with a fantasy, and Owen and Annie are hooked. They're connected in this. Now, that's how episode 3 ends, and it was probably the weakest episode in my opinion, but it was still good. Having a day. I liked it. I like the whole show. I love this show. So when I say that's the weakest episode, it doesn't mean much. The next episode, episode 4, is called Furs by Sebastian. And this one was great. My favorite 2 episodes are part 4 and part 9. I love the absurdity of all of it. And Furs by Sebastian is basically this B-pill experience that Annie and Owen have together. So they are Bruce and Linda. They've been married and they've got kids. They've been married for a while. They've been knowing themselves since high school. And they've been married for a while. Apparently when you're under the B-pill, you can remember multiple lives, talking about whole lives. So this is the first one that we're going to witness. Bruce is in a car. And there's a song playing, Art of Noise. The song's called Close to the Edit. And it was popular in my youth. I hated the video. It was an instrumental, basically. I hated the video, but it's a pretty good, funky beat. Bruce is in the car, and he's reading a book, and it's by Dr. Greta Manilray, with Sally Field's face on it. And he's underlining sentences in the book, and these are all sentences of self-help and how you can be a better husband. We see Annie. She's inside the building. The car's parked outside. She's inside the building. It's a DMV. It's her turn to go. She's going to approach the teller, but it's a guy, and she sees a girl with big glasses on, and she says, you know what, I'm going to wait till she's available. She lets somebody else go until she can talk to the woman with the big glasses. She's claiming that she's there because somebody drove fast in their neighborhood, and she wants to report it, and she's got the license plate number. So she gives the woman the license plate number, and the woman says she can fill out some sort of report. It's going to take a while. Usually things don't come out to anything, but she cannot give any information about this person. But while she's got the information up on the screen, Linda can see with those big glasses the reflection of what's on the computer screen, and she writes it on her hand. She's writing the address of where this, the owner of the vehicle she's looking up. She gets the address. She says, you know what, now that I'm here, I'm embarrassed about doing this, so never mind. And she walks out. She gets in the car with Owen. Linda and Bruce. Owen and Annie are now Linda and Bruce. So Linda gets in the car, and Bruce says, well, how did it go? Linda said, well, I failed the written test again. So she lied about why she went in there. Then the next thing she says is, next stop we're going to, and she says the address. And he says, okay, and he's trying to do a seatbelt. He can't get it right. But he's like, okay, no questions asked. And he drives her straight to this address. Now, when they get to the address, they realize it's a fur shop. It's called Furs by Sebastian. And she immediately loses it. She's like, son of a bitch. Then she says, come on, Bruce, come on, we're going inside. I need you to do that. And they're walking in the store. I need you to distract the salesman. Okay, just distract them. And she walks in, and they start talking to the salesman. And she says, yeah, we're looking for a fur. My husband would love a fur. Do you have a bathroom I can use? He directs her to the bathroom and just left him there. So poor Owen, I mean Bruce, has to start pretending like he's shopping for furs. So he's having this small talk with the guy running the shop while Linda's sneaking off to the back. She finds a room. Then she sees a door that has a code, and it's written above the digits. So right above is this little stick-it paper that says 1, 2, 3, 4. So she types in 1, 2, 3, 4, and the door opens. She goes in, and there's these animals, exotic animals in cages. And she sees a lemur, and she says, Wendy, oh, I'm so glad you were right. Don't worry, honey, I'm going to get you out of here. All of a sudden, somebody's approaching the room, so she hides. It's a guy that's obviously one of the people that works there. It's like the father's in the front, and these are the two sons, because there's one that walks in and another one comes out the bathroom. So now she's in the room with these two guys, and they are goofy. They're actually doing a dance routine or something and trying to get the moves right. And while they're distracted with their dancing, she crawls out of there, but she can't drag the cage with the lemur in it with her. So she walks back into the showroom and says, come on, Brucey, we got to go. And the guy's like, you're not going to get a fur? You know, we're open till 8. And he goes, I might come back. You know, I really would like a fur. So they get in the car, and Bruce is like, okay, look, Linda, you're going to have to be straight with me. What the hell is going on? What the fudge is going on? And Linda said, I didn't want to tell you anything. And then Bruce is like, why? And Linda says, you know, because, well, I fucked it all up. So obviously she was going to lie about the whole thing until she got busted. So now she has to tell her husband the truth. She said, okay, you remember Nan? She said, they have Wendy. She says, they have Wendy. And he's like, who the fudge is Wendy? Wendy is the lemur for Nan. Who the fuck is Nan? Who the fudge is Nan? So apparently Linda is a nursing home nurse, and that's where she works. And one of the patients she's been watching is a lady named Nan. Right before Nan died, Nan asked Annie, I can't call her Linda. She's Linda, okay. Nan asked Linda to deliver her pet lemur to her estranged daughter. So Linda's like, you know, it's one of them things where it could be me and only me. And she asked me to do it. She wants to reconcile with her daughter. So I'm going to bring this lemur to her. She said, and I was on my way to do it, but I had to stop to use the bathroom. You know, my bladder. And when she went in the store to use the bathroom, she came out, she saw this truck driving away, and they stole the lemur out of the car. She got the license plate of the truck, and that's what she's doing. She wanted to figure out. She said, that motherfucker stole the lemur. Oh, and now at this time, Bruce is like, oh, fudge. Well, you know what, honey? We're getting that lemur back tonight. We're going to break into that place and steal that lemur. And Linda's like, I got to call him Annie and Owen. Annie's like, really? And he's like, yeah. She said, you do that for me? Of course I would. And she's like, you don't think I'm crazy? Yeah, you're a little crazy. That's why I love you. So she has to go to work that day, and they plan on doing it that night. And there's a neat breakfast scene with the kids there, and the kids are all cute, and he's just loving it. It seems like Owen's really happy in this family situation. Annie goes to work. Linda goes to work. And she's reading out of Don Quixote to a lady. And apparently Nan used to live in that room with the lady. Nan's not there anymore. So Annie's like, you know, you're going to miss Nan, huh? And she said, I haven't felt this good in a long time. She's like, really? She said, yeah, every time I look at Nan's empty bed, it just makes me happy. But it's not because she didn't like the woman. It's because she died, not me. So I'm still alive. So then Annie walks down the hall, and she gets approached by this guy from Fish and Wildlife. So he's got a uniform on with a badge. And she's like, "Are you a cop?" He says, "Well, there's not much difference authority-wise." And this is interesting because one of the first scenes we see when Annie's on the street, and I didn't say this in my review of episode 1, as the narrator's talking, Annie's going through a pile of junk that's in front of Milgram Enterprises. The first thing she finds is a Rubik's Cube, and she throws it over her shoulder. And Owen bends down and picks it up before he goes in the building. I didn't notice any of that the first time I watched it. And then she grabs a book, and the book is Don Quixote. She grabs the book, and then the security guard walks up and says, "Oh, this is a trash pile. This isn't a giveaway. Move along." And she said, "What are you, a cop?" He goes, "Well, there's not much difference authority-wise." Now, this little man that was the security guard, this is the guy playing Fish and Wildlife in the dream. So he wants to know about a patient of hers, Nan, and he wants to know about the pet lemur that she had. And Annie's like, "Yeah, she kept it in a cage under her bed." And the guy says, "Well, they're illegal, and what we want to do is ship it back to Madagascar so it could be reunited with its family." And wants to know if she knew what happened to the lemur. And she says, "No, I have no idea what happened to the lemur." And he says, "Well, maybe I should question the roommate of the old lady." And he says, "No, she's psycho. She's losing it. She's Alzheimer's or something. You can't question her. She's unreliable, basically." So that was her day at work. So that night, Owen Bruce picks her up, got her duffel bag, and they're going straight there. She's got two things with her. She's got a squirt gun that's painted like a real gun, and she's got a brick. And he says, "What the fudge is that for?" And she says, "This is a key to the city." And when they get there, she throws the brick through the door. She says, "No alarm. I told you these guys were dummies." They walk in. They go to the back room. Except they changed it. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4 anymore. So she's like, "What's the dancing numbers?" He says, 5, 6, 7, 8. And she types in 5, 6, 7, 8, and it works. And they were dancing earlier. I love this show. So many neat things. So they go in, and the guy's there, but he's sleeping. So they're trying to sneak to get the lemur. Now, she's about to sneeze because there's like a chinchilla in there, and she's allergic to chinchillas. And I should have mentioned this also before. On the car ride there, he got her antihistamines because he knew that she was going to sneeze if they went in there. And that was so sweet of him. And just like a relationship, a man finally does something sweet, and then she tells him, I read somewhere that antihistamines lower your defense, your body's defense. So she didn't take it. But what was interesting is that antihistamine was A. So just that's what happens in relationships. A man finally does something nice, and she's not gonna take it anyway. So yeah, you're right. I tried. I don't know what else to do. So anyway, she's about to sneeze. They've got the ferret in the cage, and all of a sudden, the other brother shows up and sees the window broken, and he walks in with the brick and knocks both of them out. They come to the Sebastian, Furs by Sebastian. Sebastian's there, and he's like, "You guys are trying to steal my ferret. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We can do lots of things to you, but what's definitely going to happen is you're going to watch us skin this lemur." I said ferret, lemur. But before he can get to skinning the lemur, you hear sirens outside. This is Fish and Wildlife. Come out with the lemur. So Bruce and Linda are tied up there. And all of a sudden, Sebastian's like, well, he starts giving this crazy speech about, my daddy always told me when the going gets tough, whatever. And he puts on this fur, and he was trying to sell Bruce a bulletproof fur, which he thought he'd be interested in, which sounded really strange. Well, at this moment, Sebastian puts on this bulletproof fur and gets two little Uzis or semis or whatever. And he's like, when the going gets tough, you gotta fuck them in the face. He goes out to the front of the store and he starts talking like he's a kingpin or something. And he starts shooting at Fish and Wildlife. And the little guy from Fish and Wildlife, after he repeats the line, there's not much difference authority-wise. They're all getting shot at, and he's looking at his gun, and he says, "This is it." He's starting to get excited. He says, "Wait till he reloads." And so when Sebastian quits shooting, they all turn around and start shooting. And he's bent over trying to reload his gun and constantly getting shot in the back, but the bulletproof fur is working. Now in the back room, the brothers are like, "What do we got to do? We got to go out there and help Dad." So they leave, and all of a sudden, Bruce and Linda can try to escape. And they're having this back and forth talk, and you can tell they've been married and known each other for a long time. It's sweet. And they get loose, and they get the lemur, and they skedaddle out of there. They try to go through the main part, but I mean it's getting shot up, and one of the brothers runs to the window and just gets pulverized. He gets shot like 20 or 30 times, and everybody witnesses it. So Bruce and Linda take the lemur and escape out the back door. They get to their car, they load their car up, and they take off. The one Fish and Wildlife guy notices the car leaving, but they're busy shooting. The whole time Sebastian's screaming about his dead son. He was a shining star. He was a bright light. Oh, God, that was so funny. If anybody doesn't like this episode, I don't know what's wrong with them, because that was so good. And then, I mean, it could have been a moonlighting episode. It could have been anything. It was just one of them happen circumstance things, and maybe people think it's lazy. I just thought it was fucking entertaining as hell. So they got the lemur, and they drive all the way to the woman's house. They're going to deliver the lemur to Nan's daughter. So Owen waits in the car while Annie approaches the house. She knocks on the door, and there's a sign hanging in front of the house that says the Naslins. And the woman answers the door, and she looks at the cage and says, "Is that Wendy?" And Annie says, "Yeah." She says, "You know what time it is?" Annie says, "I know. She says, "Come in." She says, "You don't know why you're here, do you?" And he said, "I think I do. Your mom passed away, and she wanted me to bring you her pet lemur." It's kind of like a reconciliation. And the woman says, "That's not a I love you lemur. That's a go fuck yourself lemur." She pulls out a letter. So I just got this letter in the mail yesterday. It was mailed from her mom, Nan. It said, I was thinking about the argument that we had, and I wanted you to have the lemur. And I thought it was poignant before I die that I make sure you understand how lemurs are better than children. Number one, lemurs don't talk back. Number two, lemurs don't suffocate you and kill your dream. Stuff like this. Okay. This realization's crashing in on Annie big time. She's realizing she went through all that, and she didn't even, I mean, this is awful. What the letter that was written to the daughter was awful. As this tension is mounting, we go outside, we see Owen. He's reading the self-help book. And he turns to a chapter that's called Emotional Poltergeist. And there's a whole passage there about Owen's episode yelling at Olivia. And on the next page is a picture of Olivia. She's wearing a shirt that's got an owl on it. And the caption underneath says, "This is Olivia, the girl that you screamed at when you had your blip." And as Owen reads this huge truck passes down the road. And he says, "What the fudge?" And we go back in the house, and Annie's looking out of the house and says, "What the hell was that?" It was almost like reality just crashing in on him in this dream. Oh, God, it's so good. But the last example, the woman's reading in the letter about how lemurs are better than children. And number 5, lemurs don't operate heavy cars or large vehicles or heavy machinery. And she says, This lemur's to remind you that you shouldn't have kids. Don't make the same mistake I made. Don't avoid the same mistake I made in having you. That's what the woman wrote to her daughter. And Annie, in this state of confusion, says, well, maybe you shouldn't have kids. And the woman says, who the hell do you think you are? I think at that moment, Annie was thinking of her mother and saying, maybe you shouldn't have kids. Or maybe man was right, you shouldn't have kids. And the woman said, well, too late anyway, because in 22 weeks I'm having a baby. I'm pregnant. And Annie said, congratulations. And the woman said, and I'm going to name him Greg, fuck you, Nan Naslin. So Annie leaves, and she's taking the lemur with her. And Owen sees it, and Bruce sees it, and Bruce is like, what the fudge, Linda? Well, I'm going to go in there and tell her something. And Linda says, no, leave it alone. She gets in the car, and they're driving away. And Linda starts recalling a story, but it's not from Linda's past, it's from Annie's past. And Annie remembers the day her and her sister woke up, no one was in the house. They decided to make it an adventure. She was trying to protect her little sister. Her little sister got scared. No one was in the house. So she said, that's okay. Let's go walk. It'll be an adventure. We'll find it. And they walked down this driveway of theirs, which was a really long driveway. And toward the end of the driveway was her dad sitting in the car crying. And he had this look in his face. And he said, I knew as soon as I saw his eyes that my mother was either dead or that she was never coming back. And she protected her little sister from seeing any of this, the dad crying and the realization the mother was gone. And he told the little sister, Ellie, let's go back in the house, let's bake a cake, and let's pretend it's your birthday. And she said, okay. And the delivery by Emma Stone is just amazing. Oh my God. The woman deserves an Emmy for this. So, after the story, Bruce Owen is like, well, when did they get back together? And then he says, what are you talking about? He says, when did your parents get back together? Linda, your parents aren't divorced. And that's when Linda Annie realizes, she said, I must be really tired. I don't know what I'm talking about. And he said, yeah, we both got hit in the head pretty hard. So they get back to the house, and Linda lays down. And Linda said, I'm keeping her. I'm keeping Wendy, the lemur. And Bruce says, I'm sorry. And she says, what are you talking about? Bruce says, I'm sorry that I can't make you happy. And Linda says, you make me happy every day. And he says, okay. And he walks to go outside. And she said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to take out the trash. He's dragging the trash to the street, and Fish and Wildlife pull up. They pull out their guns. Get on the ground now. He gets on the ground, and then Owen Bruce gets on the ground and says, she had nothing to do with it. I did it all on my own. She had nothing to do with it. It's me. You want me. And we see Linda laying on the couch hearing this. And that's how the episode ends. So Bruce took the fall for their crime of stealing the endangered species illegal lemur. That's how this episode ended. It was an amazing episode, and there were so many connections. I mean, when that big truck comes by, of course that's from Annie's reality, but the fact that only them two recognized it and acknowledged it, it was like this break in their dream, reality crashing in. The fact that she delivered this lemur to the woman who would eventually have the man that killed her sister, she admits later that she sometimes wished that this guy never would have been born. So this was one of them things. It's almost like the letter was kind of like something Annie would have written if she could have. The letter was also something that her own mother would have written to either her or her sister. So a lot of parallels, a lot of strange stuff. Ooh, it's so good. The license plate on their car was 01991A. The O's for Owen, the A's for Annie, and of course 1 and 9. There's been some addresses as well. I think Bruce and Linda's house had 1s and 9s in it. If I'm not mistaken, it could have been 119. I guess I have to go back and look. Like I said, the show's chock block full of stuff. You rewatch it, you won't be disappointed. You'll get stuff out of it every time that you didn't notice before. Not only that, but a fuller understanding of the emotional implications of everything that's going on. So that is my review for episode 3 and episode 4 of Maniac, my favorite show since Twin Peaks. I think this is going to be the only season, so I'm going to enjoy it like an 8 to 10 hour movie, and I will revisit it time and time again. And as of right now, that's how I feel about it, and this is how I've interpreted a lot of it. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos like this. I'll be covering episodes 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8, and then 9 and 10. So subscribe, and you'll get the rest of them as they come. I'm Joe. This has been Twin Perspective. My review of episode 3 and 4, Maniac. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the trees. Bye.